This speaker has been recorded at an online meeting of Addictive Eaters Anonymous. You can email us at contact@aeainfo.org.
I'd like to invite Meirion to please share his experience, strength, and hope with us.
My name's Meirion, I'm an addictive eater. And yeah, thanks for asking me to share. And welcome to anyone who's here for the first time or one of the first times. Yeah, I was just thinking about what I might share about, and just what it was like, really, and what brought me, like, why I was looking for something to help with food. Like, looking back, I never had I never really had a normal, I was going to say a normal relationship with food, but you know, I don't have a relationship with food. You know, I have relationships with other people, but I never ate normally. I never thought normally about food. I remember, like, stories that my mum has told me from when I was really, like, too young to remember, and she'd be offering me, like, a choice of one biscuit or another biscuit, and she said I got so distressed because I couldn't choose between one or the other. And I don't know if it was the same then, but the reason I would have difficulty when I was older choosing between one thing and another was because I was always, I wasn't choosing between one piece of food and another. I was choosing between one kind of emotional landscape and another. Like, is this food going to make me feel the way that I want to feel? Is it going to change my view of life? It's a lot to put on a biscuit, you know. Is it going to change my view of life so that I can feel okay about everything? And you know, I remember looking, you know, I'd go into shops, like much later, like towards the end of the addictive eating, and looking at food from exactly that perspective. You know, is this going to make me feel like I think I need to feel? And all, you know, all throughout the eating, like teenage and then young adult, I would I'd be using food to bring about a particular, or attempt to bring about a particular like state of mind, state of being. And then I'd use stuff to go up, and I'd use stuff to level off, and I'd use stuff to come down. You know, a lot of the time it was food and, you know, food and caffeine to go up, and then alcohol and all sorts of other things to come down the other side. But that was how I'd manage my life, just through what I put in my body. A lot, you know, it worked for ages. It just worked, you know. things, I'd got through university or got through school and through university, and all the time knowing, like when I was a child, I would steal. I'd steal money to buy sweets. If I couldn't steal money, I'd just buy sweets. So I'd just steal sweets. And I love, I would just find a way, just find a way to get what I thought I needed. And how I got there didn't matter. I would just, and I didn't even know that really, I wasn't really barely conscious of what I was doing. It was just normal to me to buy sweets every day, steal money, and then eat them all without sharing and without anyone knowing, and then go home and have dinner, eat the meal that my mother had prepared. And then, I kind of knew that food was, I always knew I was using food. But then other things just sort of overrode it, like, when I discovered drinking and recreational drug taking, these things were, just seemed to the food didn't seem to be such a big thing, but I would always use it. I would still use it just to kind of try and change how I was feeling. And then those things started to become a problem. Those things, and my sexual behavior was a nightmare, and not for me, but for the people that were kind of at the effect of what I was doing. And as I started to realize that these things were a problem, and started looking for help, I found 12-step fellowships. And then as some of these things, the drinking and the kind of sexual behavior, there's that kind of got a bit better. The food just came, I heard someone use the words, came back as a real piece of business. So as soon as I removed one set of substances or behaviors, something else would have to come. Without recovery, something else would have to come and take their place, because I couldn't live life like I could see other people living. And things like work, like I just couldn't work. And I remember getting really, really upset about the fact that I just couldn't work. Like I could have a job and do a job for a while, but I couldn't work consistently over time, because it's challenging, staying in a job or in a relationship are challenging inherently. Being alive is full of challenges, and I had no capacity to deal with challenges. Just didn't have it. And so I would just leave. I'd just leave and go off in search of the life that didn't have any challenges. And I can tell you, I've never found it. And so I ended up with food just being the thing. thinking that I was kind of sober in other areas, but I was just acting crazily with food, like getting out of bed in the night and going down the shops and then binging and staying up half the night and then passing out and then coming round in the morning and thinking maybe that will be the last time that I have to do that. And it wasn't, it just happened again. And then stumbling across a guy who was living the way of life that is offered here. And he just looked well. He looked well and happy, which was different from what I'd seen in the eyes of the other people in the food fellowship that I'd been in previously. And so I asked him for help, and he helped me up until I was unwilling to do what he said. And then he said, mate, I just don't think I can help you, because I can only be helped to the extent that I'm willing to be helped. And but by that time he'd put me in touch with other members of this fellowship, and I was able to kind of go to them and say, right, well, I've not done so well so far, but I'm willing now to do what you say. And these were people who they had like I believed them, when they said, this is what's wrong, this is what the solution is, and this is how I did it. I believed them, and I was at that point just so convinced that I couldn't manage food, and I couldn't manage any other part of my life. It was all just a mess, that I was just willing to do what they said. And imperfectly, I've continued to do that. And all the things that I couldn't do, the career that I couldn't have, the relationships I couldn't have, the ongoing participation in this fellowship, and just consistently showing up and being a part of something. Like I joined clubs, a club. I would never join clubs because I was just too special, too special for a club. And you'd have to engage with people you didn't know very well and all that kind of thing. Yeah, but all those things I couldn't do, I can do. And it's not because I'm like, I don't know. It's just because I've learned to do as I'm told and stop trying to manage every part of my life to try and bring about some, impossible ideal. And then what the other thing they said is you need to develop a relationship with God, and like a God of my understanding. And it's part of the steps. That's part of my step work, is through prayer and meditation to improve my relationship with God. And I'd rather just ring people up, to be honest, and ask them questions rather than take the time to develop their relationship with God. But it's what I've done, and it's just relieved me of the need to get out of bed in the middle of the night and go to the shops. it's relieved me of the need to give up a job, just walk out of a job because it's too hard. It's relieved me of the need to run away from relationships because they're too difficult. I can save money and all sorts of things. And I'm just very grateful. I'm getting married next month. And I on my own, I just haven't got the ability or the capacity to do any of these things. If you're new, stick around. And I needed to find someone that I needed to be convinced that I couldn't do it. Whatever I was trying to do wasn't going to work. And I had to find someone that I was willing to call and to do what they said. And none of it was complicated. It was all simple. I just needed to be willing to do it, and trust God with the rest of my life. And I'll leave it there. Thanks so much for asking me to share.